Greetings. Lex Murdoch here. Another episode. Let me get to it. Like bird flew with the clues, drilling through with word screws that make the toes snooze, dripped and draped through the rules. It makes you feel so low, one is prone to lose, but could never delay or cally it away, cally it a day, for night is followed by another day. The time passes like temporal paddles, ushering and coercing my psyche to forget yesterday. Hello everyone, welcome back to Poetry Journal Podcast. I am your host, Alex Murdoch, and hope we're all doing well. Just thought I'll come. It seemed like a great time to kind of share, what I've been cooking up today. So, just wanted to come out, give my little poetry vent, you could say, in a sense, or share these, just a few words as I do. So I just wanted to just give a little teaser of what I have in store today. But without further ado, let me just go through this. Like bird flew with the clues, drilling through with word screws that make the toes snooze, dripped and draped through the rules. It makes you feel so low, one is prone to lose, but can never delay or tally it a day, for night is followed by another day. The time passes like temporal paddles, ushering and coercing my psyche to forget yesterday. The treachery hangs like garments, a habit of swarming with no warning, concept so daunting, equilibrium becomes telling. Influential with the words, screaming to run away, then proceed. The means of the feels, but only standing is the appeal, for difficulties have meaning to me. That's pretty much what I have to say today. But now I was just thinking, as soon as I read that last quote, for difficulties have meaning to me, I'm feeling that line. In this here and now. It's just obviously, it has meaning to me. That's why I wrote it. But at the same time, it's just in this here and now. I think that's a profound quote, if I must say so myself. For the obvious reasons, just thinking about what we go through and what we get from what we go through. The difficult times, man, I think they paint the picture, they depict, or even give insight into your character, you know. That's a profound thing, I would say. Not only that, you know, at the same time, you know, these are the times, you know, we all hold on to like the great memories, but at the same time, we remember the craziest ones even more, you know, like the ones that evoke so much emotion that, like, it's almost like a scar, or, you know, as you know, people like to say these days, or prefer to say these days, trauma, you know. So it's there's controversial remnants to it, but I think just that whole idea of difficulties, there's power to it. And of course, you know, I think it's almost the way you look at it. Of course, you know what I mean. I think it's a double-headed sword. One could argue you can let it defeat you, or you can let it uplift you. Is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty? You know, that's pretty much what it comes down to when it comes to difficulties, challenges in life, that type of thing. I mean, you know, it just, it sharpens you, or it dulls you, or it breaks you down. You know, it's not a thing where, it's rare when you meet somebody that, you know, they've been through something and it's like they're just stumped, like it didn't affect them in a sense of like to change their situation, or to uplift it, or to break it down, or anything of the sort, you know. That, like I said, you know, that line just kind of had me thinking. So, but I thought I'd share, take a little time out to share. But you know, back to what we were speaking about. As I always say, you know, after I read a quote, it's, you know, questions. You know, I always have questions. Always have questions. So, I suppose the first question would be, for me, speaking to your journey, do you take time to acknowledge your setbacks? Is that a thing? Like, do you take time to acknowledge your setbacks? Perhaps merely speaking on them, addressing them. Because in a way, one could argue it's a way to almost relinquish that power it may potentially have on you. Just because you ignore the elephant in the room. Just because you ignore the elephant in the room, does it mean it's not there anymore? And obviously that's a rhetorical question, but at the same time, I guess it speaks to the point I'm trying to make, that is ignorance truly bliss? questions. You know? Or is it merely delusional? Just a thought. But you know, to me, that's pretty much what comes to mind when I don't speak on things that irks my productivity. Well, it affects me so much that it starts to affect my processing, my productivity, and just going about doing what I do, pertaining to my goals or my journey, to what I've devoted my time for, on my time to. And to that, I would ask, what are some of the experiences that tends to derail your elevation? Because at the end of the day, the way I see it, we're all trying to grow, we're all trying to be better, we're all trying to elevate. Whether that be as a person in business, you know, and to an extent, you know, it all pretty much all comes back to the person that you are. Whatever facet of life you're trying to elevate in, or focused on being elevated in, it all pretty much, to me, comes back to you as a person. And where do you sit in the equation in terms of like almost being better so you can be better in the process that you're kind of persevering for, like, to be accomplished. So this is where I sit with it. Yeah, to that I mean your growth. Seeing your experiences as a positive. To an extent, I believe, or one could argue that, you know, there is a factor of self-sabotage in a sense. For us all, when it comes to being humans. And I think, you know, to an extent, it kind of always plays itself out. Either in small, microscopic type of ways, or perhaps even in the tendencies of your persona, you know. Like, for example, feeling we're not good enough. And I think to that degree, speaking of me personally, I do my best to recondition my mind. A type of rehab, if you will. I like to think of it as me pouring into what I want to be, as opposed to what people want me to be. Whether it be through self-coaching, as in speaking to myself, unpacking experiences I've laid buried over the years. Stick a pin at that last line. Unpacking experiences I've laid buried over the years. let's explore that. Whether it be through as you know, right? I have this saying, and I guess I pretty much say it all the time now, where, you know, time will tell. You know, time will tell. I have a theory to the reason why that always have been a thought to me, or like almost like a mental resolve through many situations. Perhaps I never had the know-how or general knowledge or knowledge of self to unpack issues by myself at certain parts of life, certain age in the past. And so I would compartmentalize my issues or my problems that needs solving over the years until I was ready to address them. Now, perhaps, you know, one could argue perhaps maybe I could, which is why I did. Which begs the reason, the level of urgency. But, you know, urgency is a question mark on that in terms of like subjectivity. And, you know, I do my best to kind of tether my emotions when it comes to addressing issues. Everything have a time and a place, a sell by date, and, you know, certain things have to be priority. So you prioritize, you know, time and place, etc., etc. And sometimes, you know, you go through certain things and it's just like you just need to be aware, perhaps I don't have the tools to, and maybe it's just the time, you just need time. Sometimes it's just like you just can't see clarity because you just need the time. And you have to step back. Sometimes you could, well, exactly that. Sometimes you just need to step back. You know, there's many ways to look at it. And like I said, so I would compartmentalize my issues over the years until I was ready to address them. Now, I must say, I'm not saying this is wise or healthy, but this is more of a me thing, a personal solvent for what I do or what has worked for me, because I know myself so well. I know what works for me, and I would say you should be able to figure out or have figured out methods that work for you, or perhaps try them. You know, you should know what works for you. So, you know, like I said, I guess I'm saying this to say you don't necessarily have to, maybe not try this at home if you think this is not wise for yourself. So, with that being said, I would ask, what are some of the strategies that works for you? I mean, at the end of the day, we all have trials and tribulations, of course. That's a part of life. In fact, one will argue that another part of life is ensuring that you find solutions for these trials and tribulations, if they're not the type to just just kind of diffuse without your intervention. So it's quite the intrigue with these questions. And I just realized something, so perhaps I'll say this as well. I do throw a lot of questions out there, but I think it's important. And I do this because not necessarily that, obviously I would always prefer somebody to answer these questions, but at the same time I think I say all these questions, I ask all these questions just in the air when there's nobody to speak about, because I think it's important that we think about. I think it's important it's food for thought for one, and I think it's important to unpack or speak about some of these things. And you may not necessarily, I don't think you necessarily have to kind of reply to me or speak to me, which is one of the reasons why I still do it. Plus, this poetry, we ask questions all the time. It's a trait of poetry, but it's kind of like, I want a brief discussion where people, I might not be there, I don't have to be there, but I want to know that people are thinking or speaking. Perhaps, hopefully there's a groundswell around some of the things I like to discuss or I like to speak about. And as you know, I do get times where I would invite people to speak or answer some of these questions. So, and I must say I do enjoy those discussions also. Speaking to that, I do have plans to have more people come and discuss about the many things that we speak about on this podcast. The Poetry Journal podcast by Alex Murdoch. Means a lot to me, and as always, I thank everyone for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. It's just fun, It's fun. And thanks everyone for tuning in. It's been it's been a pleasure. And I've, like I said last week, I managed to kind of sort out the podcast platform, and I'm looking to have some guests soon, but I'm also looking to do a bit more episodes per week, so that's going to be fun. I'd like to take some time also to shout out a friend of mine, and this is something I think my audience would enjoy as well. So I want to take some time to acknowledge his book. It's called The War of the Mind, Prison by Another Name. The author's name is Eche, Egbuonu, and also I've actually had him in the past as a guest on this platform, and we had a profound conversation. So it wasn't a surprise when when I read his book, and it matched up to the person I knew him to be, where it's almost like it was a very, very interesting read, profound depiction, and funny enough, speaking of which, now we're on the subject, I went to his book launch last week for this book, and he had the discussion we had was great. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm glad I went. And I congratulate Eche on his book. It was a great read, So I'll leave a link in the bio for him, of course. But it's available on Amazon. It's The War of the Mind, Prison by Another Name, Eche Egbuonu. And if you'd like to check out what me and him spoke about a couple months ago, one of the episodes is available. So just check that out. Quite the artist himself, and it's quite a unique book launch because he has an album out as well, a rap album. So he's doing a lot, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, congratulations to Eche and all he's doing. I wish him all the success, man. Really positive, really cool. But without further ado, I thank everyone for tuning in and listening to what I have to say. This is Alex Murdoch. This is Poetry Journal, podcast by Alex Murdoch, or call me Lex Murdoch, or Lex, or Poetry Ventor. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. So much more to come, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's going to be live. Thank you. Take care.